these pricks have got us right where they want us. They've got us in a place where we're trapped and we're all on the hamster wheel. If you look at the middle class and the lower class, every single year,
Yeah.
they're able to purchase less and less and less. Everybody's working two jobs. You know, you got everybody in the house. You'd put the dog to work if you could. It's all because the money is broken. If you're interested in somehow getting off the hamster wheel, and not allowing your money to be debased every year, so you buy less and less, you got to work harder and harder, you can't get ahead, then you need to think about Bitcoin.
Welcome to the Bitcoin RX podcast. This is your host, Nurse Ralph. Today, I got George Bodine, who's going to help me give you a weekly dose of orange pill so you don't die from fiat disease. George, welcome to the podcast.
Well, I appreciate your saying that. I'm excited to be here. You know, I'm obviously right now, if you're following the market, a lot of people have got their panties all in a wad. They're very upset about things right now, and I don't know what to say to you. I can talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Maybe we can go over some of the reasons that the price is probably being suppressed right now. There are a lot of
Oh, yeah.
different factors going on, but the bottom line is that today is a great day to touch grass, and also to get back to Bitcoin basics.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed in Bitcoin over the last year. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Ralph, Ralph, just as an aside, what's your background? I don't even know what your background
Oh
is.
yeah, I'm basically just an average nurse, and I was I bet I was I guess I was like struggling with student loans at some point. So I was like, okay, like I wanted to get my student loans off my back, and I was looking for a way to make more money. And just I guess on my way to finding more money, I discovered Bitcoin, and then as I started learning more about it, I just like I just realized like how amazing this thing was. Basically, I was like, oh shit, like this is not about money really. This is more about like freedom. This is more about like having like power, self sovereignty. Like like the more you learn about it, the more I started to like feel like, wow, this is better than money, man. This is like I can have my time back now. So yeah, just basically, I'm just an average dude, man. I'm just an average dude. I'm nothing special. And then I decided to start a podcast because I figured, yeah, I mean, I help people as a nurse, but I feel like I can help way more people as a Bitcoiner talking about it, trying to educate more people. So yeah, that's me in a short short
Well,
little
that
story.
that's great. Well, it's
Yeah,
so cool. What a great profession it is, nursing.
yeah,
My wife is a longtime nurse. She's now a nurse practitioner and
nice.
sees patients in a lot of different fields and
Oh,
stuff. So I'm
nice.
really happy that just a neat thing to be involved in, to be doing. So
Yes, yes,
it's something
agreed.
that it's a great. I don't know. It's a great way to give back to humanity,
Yeah.
and I agree with you so much about what you said about Bitcoin. Bitcoin
Hmm.
is just what that. It's like an escape valve, a chance to have somehow escape the digital dystopian future that's being built for us. So
Yeah,
we cannot let Bitcoin fail. I mean,
yeah,
this is really important.
yeah.
It's
I know. I
more than
agree.
just it's more than just money.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's like you were saying about the price, like how people are freaking out about it. And it's like Thanksgiving is next week and Black Friday is next week, but it's like the real the real discount is right now. Like you can retire for cheaper right now. So grab some cheap Bitcoin while you can.
Yeah, I follow on chain very
Uh-huh.
closely. I've been doing it for years now, and
Yep.
I follow primarily James Checkmate on
Yeah.
X, and then
Yep.
I follow Glassnode. Those are
Yeah.
two of the primary signals that I'm always plugged into, and I can assure you that first off, when we fell initially below about 117, 116, that floor, I
Yeah.
kind of felt that was a change there and
Mm-hmm.
a change in the market.
Yep.
There's been a lot of talk about long-term holders that are selling into this particular wave.
Hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with Jordy Visser, if you follow him or not.
Yeah.
Very good
Yep.
in tech, yeah.
Hmm.
And he just came out with that paper comparing this to Bitcoin's IPO moment.
Right.
I would push back. I really am very closely aligned with Jordy. He
Hmm.
and I think very similar, but I would push back on that thesis a little bit.
Yeah.
And the reason is because every cycle, these long term holders are selling into the market. I mean, every
Hmm.
time a bull run occurs, long
Hmm.
term holders sell into it. We often call them smart money.
Yeah.
So there's nothing different about that in this cycle.
Yeah.
The only thing I think that he really nails here is the idea that there is finally enough liquidity And when we break the $100,000 floor, if you will,
Yeah.
that was a key psychological moment. And we have seen tremendous selling in
Yeah.
long-term holders.
Mhm.
Now, there are a lot of different ways to phrase that. Some of them can just scare the bejesus out of you. I could tell you right now that 2.5 million long-term holders, people that have held the coin to be classified in that category, has sold their coins, 2.5
Mhm.
million
Yeah.
since July.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's a scary little statistic. But what
Yeah.
people don't tell you
Yeah.
is that on the other side of that, every single day, long-term holders are maturing.
Right.
And we're actually building that cohort from the backside also. It's a
Mhm.
backfill.
Right.
So, like, for instance, this last month, yes, long-term holders were selling. Again, I think somebody posted like 400,000 coins, but
Mhm.
in reality, it was about 100,000 coins that went out the door that did not backfill from maturing long-term holders.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you need to get on to Glassnode and start to follow some of their data, or James Check.
Yeah.
Understand that long-term holders are a designation from Glassnode. About 155 days into holding,
Yeah.
you switch from a short-term holder into a long-term holder. And if you're curious, the reason they do that is they have statistically proven that at that particular time, just after 5 months, for some reason there is a psychological change in how people hold their Bitcoin, meaning the chances of selling the Bitcoin become markedly less.
Yeah.
So that's a really important point. And again,
Yeah.
yes, they have been selling into the market. It sounds scary at first, but it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Again, I think Jordy is correct in the sense that there's enough liquidity. The market has matured. You can exit without causing huge disruptions in your own price. And I think people are taking advantages. So that's
Oh yeah.
one.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
you want me to continue
Oh
and
no,
tell
keep
you some
going.
of the
No,
other?
keep
All
going. Oh
right.
yeah.
All right. Well, then let's talk about the second leg of this, which is the Bitcoin treasury companies.
Uh-huh.
Uh, for some time now, ever since last year, as the bandwagon took off for Bitcoin
Mhm.
treasury companies, I started to have some concern about that. And I've posted about it. You know, it's not related to a handful that I think will be successful, but when everybody's jumping into this like, chicklets, basically you're looking at 180, I think, Bitcoin treasury companies now, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And they're not all doing what I would consider the ideal situation, meaning you just take your cash flow from a successful business and you sweep it
Mhm.
into Bitcoin and you
Mhm.
establish a Bitcoin treasury company. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the ability to leverage into Bitcoin and purchases.
Yeah.
And the reason I say handful is because I've never been concerned about MicroStrategy
Yeah.
or strategy now. And the reason is, and I've held strategy for a long time, and the reason is because Saylor is, because of his size,
Mhm.
liquidity, options, derivatives that he's built out, the preferreds that he's offered, built out a yield curve on, which I actually bought some of that last one that he offered,
Yeah.
STRC, the
Yeah.
stretch.
Yeah.
I mean, look in the screen. If you're watching this, I'm older guy. I like to have some dividends coming in
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah.
so makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But the problem is that, and this was the crux of this, is what bothered me so much about the Bitcoin treasury companies is, why did I buy MicroStrategy?
Mm.
The reason is I wanted to have more Bitcoin. I wanted him to use leverage and to get me more Bitcoin per share than I could just do on my own going out there, because I don't have access to his markets, his leverage.
Yep.
And it worked. I mean, I absolutely have maximized my return, and I can convert that into fiat dollars and buy Bitcoin. And I actually recently did. So I was using his ability to do that. But why did he have that ability? What is an MNAV? Of all these different statistics they brought out, MNAV's the most important one in my mind. And when he was up there at 1.823 MNAV,
Mhm.
that's a great deal. But if you take it and you you just reverse engineer it, I mean, what is going to happen, Ralph, if
Mhm.
what's going to happen as that MNAV compresses if we go into a downturn like we're experiencing now? It makes sense when you get down to one or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah.
Those companies have a fiduciary responsibility to the people that are holding shares on their company. So what should they do? They, realistically, they should sell their
Mhm.
shares or sell their Bitcoin and buy back whatever in
Yeah.
order to increase shareholder value. Just makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yep.
So we've already seen it. Now, Sesquins has sold, I can't remember how much of it, about 40% of their stake, I think. So it's going to happen, and it's
Yep.
going to create kind of a reflexive or recursive feedback loop. And the more we get into a downturn, the more these might sell into the market. So I
Yep.
think it's putting pressure on the market.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll say is the ETF flows have slowed a little bit. ETF
Mm-hmm.
flows haven't, I think they had 2.5 billion outflows this last week. But most of the inflows into ETFs have not been like hot money. They're not short-term holders. They're not traders. Most of them, I think, are DCA or they're institutions that are into the space, whether it's a sovereign wealth fund. You saw Harvard. Harvard
Yep.
just increased their stack 250% in 3
Yeah,
months.
that's insane. Yeah. Wow.
So those are the pressures.
Yep.
I would add on the fact that there's a little bit of there's some other things going on that are probably causing a little bit of confidence to fall in Bitcoin right now.
Yep.
But the long term, if I were to say to you, what's the difference in Bitcoin between January 24 and today? I mean,
Yeah.
what's changed in Bitcoin? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. It's the same. It's the same
Yeah.
product.
Yeah.
So the last thing I'll tell you what I've been talking about. The last thing I'm going to say is this:
Uh-huh.
if you follow on chain metrics,
Mm-hmm.
you know that 95 is a key level.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, for me, it was 111, 112. When it hit 108, I thought, uh-oh. And then when we went down to 100, I felt like it could continue down. Now that it's got to 95, I want you to know that's kind of like the last line. Below 95, we've got a lot of free air below us, and
Uh-huh.
people just need to be prepared. If you're
Yeah.
like me, if you can get some dry powder, I mean, this is not
Yeah.
financial advice. I'm a village idiot. In fact, if you ask my kids, they'll tell you, "Don't. This guy's nuts." But keeping that in mind, anything below 95, I think is just a wonderful time to be thinking about coming into the market.
Oh yeah, add some more, man. Add some more. And where do you see well, we all know where Bitcoin is going, but like where do you see strategy in, like, let's say 10, 20 years from now?
Yeah, I think in the third quarter of 24, in that earnings report when they came out with their strategy,
Mm-hmm.
the 21-21, I think that was the day they set in motion $1 trillion company,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to happen. There's no
Mm-hmm.
doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
He's up to oh God, he just made another purchase here. I think
Yeah.
it's like maybe almost 642,000 now, I think. And
Yeah.
so, he's untouchable. It's
Yeah.
not just a moat. It's like you're not going to be able to match that. There's
Yeah.
not enough. Even he himself to go from where he is to double would be almost impossible.
Yep.
So he got a head start. He was smart. He did
Yeah.
it. He
Yeah.
launched. And I think I don't have any concern whatsoever about strategy.
Yep.
When I talk about concern about the BTC companies, that's all focused on what I said before, the MNAV compression, the fact
Yeah.
that they're not really selling anything except Bitcoin. They're not just sweeping cash flows into Bitcoin. They're trying to find leverage in the market. They're trying to get capital. And what is that capital based on? What it is, it's just based on what they hold. One of the things incredible about strategy is once he built out that options market, the liquidity coming into his product, when he built out relationships with QIBs, qualified institutional buyers, then he had a market for those derivatives that he put out there. And look what he's done. Every
Yeah.
one of those products is
Yeah.
like touching for a different point or a different audience within fixed income or
Yeah.
within equity markets or somebody who's retired, like a money market fund. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if I'm getting, I just purchased Stretch and STRC, and
Yeah.
I'm projected at 12% yield right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's incredible.
Tell me where I'm going to get that, Ralph. Anywhere
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. And also the other one that I've heard people talk about, the STRE, I think, for Europe and
Yeah,
Canada, I
the
think.
latest
Again, that's
product.
incredible. Yeah, I'm like, wow, he's like really trying to get like extra from everywhere. I'm like, wow, this is it's kind of genius. It's scary if you don't understand, but at the same time, it's like, wow, okay, I see what you're doing here. That's I like it. I like it. Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
I know. And I will say too that the last thing that I'll touch on is I do think that some institutions have probably had a little bit of a pause in their confidence regarding Bitcoin
Hmm.
because of the controversy that got going on right now between core versus knots.
Yep.
The possibility that there's a soft fork that's being floated out there, BIP 444, also known as RDTS,
Hmm.
although I just call it 444. But I think that has actually, I've heard three people discuss it. Only one I can identify publicly, and that's Jeff Park. He's
Hmm.
mentioned it twice now. One time about a month ago with Pomp, talking about institutions having a little bit of maybe a confidence crisis around Bitcoin because of
Hmm.
the controversy.
Yep.
And I mean, I've kind of been wading into that, and I've been studying it very hard. I've
Hmm.
probably got about 40, maybe 50 hours now studying both soft forks, hard forks, the BIP 444.
Yep.
Uh, and so, yeah, I will probably weigh in on that
Yeah.
fairly soon because I've
Oh
made
yeah.
some decisions.
Yeah. Okay. 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 Yeah. Do you know what that that was a very interesting thing for me because like for the longest time I was like postponed like running a node until like I started hearing about that and I was like, okay, I should probably get my own node. And
Good for
I think
you.
it was a positive thing in a way because like now you see more people like trying to, have a say in it. So it's I guess it's negative and positive at the same time.
Exactly.
But
I,
yeah.
I agree with that. It's
Yeah.
very important to run a node.
Yeah.
If you want to be a sovereign Bitcoiner, if you want to be powerful and in charge of your own destiny, you need to have a node. Anytime you interact with a Bitcoin based chain, if you
Hmm.
don't have a node, you're using somebody else's node. You're trusting them.
Yeah.
And we know that's not a good model for Bitcoiners. We should have our own node. I run knots. I would not run V30, Core V30. I'd run, if you want to, run an older version of Core.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
a really powerful message, and node ownership has not really accelerated or taken off like it should.
Hmm. Yeah.
We still only got about 20,000 listening nodes. I mean, we need more.
Yeah.
More people should be running nodes. So if you're listening to this and Bitcoin's been good to you, even if it's down a little bit now, if you've made money off Bitcoin, set some aside and get a damn node.
Yeah.
And I recommend running knots, but there's no reason not to run something else.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. And I want to ask you, so for the newbies out there, let's say you actually I'm just gonna talk straight to the nurses because I'm trying to send this podcast
Cool.
to a few nurses
I love
actually.
nurses.
So let's say you walked into, and well, of course your wife's a nurse practitioner too, so hopefully she's orange pilled. But let's say you walked into a room, there's a couple of nurses, and you had like, let's say you had 10 minutes to explain to them what the problem is and how Bitcoin can help solve that problem. What would you tell them?
You know, first off, you should know that I suck at orange pilling people. I don't know why. I suck at it. I mean, my family, I'm that guy that gets thrown out of the Thanksgiving dinner, and but
Yeah.
but I mean, there are some key things to think about when you discuss Bitcoin.
Yeah.
For instance, one of the things that I do approach, and I've done this with my friends too, is I'll
Mhm.
just say, look, you know, how much does inflation affect you? I mean, how much of a part of your life is it? Groceries have gone up 30% in 5 years. If you look around and you see the cost of healthcare, you see the cost of daycare, childcare, you see the cost of your insurance, car, home, you try and get a plumber to your house, it's 200 fucking dollars an hour. Everything has gone up. It's all broken since COVID.
Yep.
So I don't try to get into the dynamics of like, well, why did that happen? Like money printing or the Fed or any of that stuff. I just say, well, guess what? None of that affects me. I don't even worry about that. I live in a
Mhm.
world where every year my wealth just goes up. I
Mhm.
don't have to think about anything about buying stuff.
Yeah.
Every year I can buy more and more and more stuff.
Yeah.
That usually gets their attention. And then I'll just tell them, I'll say, and that's because I've been into Bitcoin for years now. And it has allowed me to escape all the inflation that has
Mhm.
been printed since 2020.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in somehow getting off the hamster wheel and not allowing your money to be debased every year, so you buy less and less, you got to work harder and harder, you can't get ahead, then you need to think about Bitcoin. Just look at it. Just spend a few hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's a decent approach, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's hard. It's hard because I find that when I mention it to like some people, and it just feels like because they're working so much, they're like they are so focused on like just living paycheck to
Yeah.
paycheck. They don't have that time to even think about, oh, this thing could save my life, really. Like it's like they just, okay, I gotta worry about the, food for tomorrow. I gotta worry about, my bills. I gotta worry about this. They can't think about the bigger picture, really. So it's just, yeah, they're too preoccupied with other things, really, to
Yeah,
spend the hours.
these pricks have got us right where they want us. They've got
Yeah.
us in a place where we're trapped and we're all on the hamster wheel. We're running like sons of bitches here just
Yeah.
to try and stay ahead. And every single year, if you look at the middle class and the lower class, every single year,
Yeah.
they're able to purchase less and less and less. They're
Yeah.
relying more and more on government handouts because they can't get by.
Yeah.
Everybody's working two jobs. You
Yeah.
got everybody in the house. You'd put the dog to work if you could. And
Yeah.
it's all because the money is broken.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult subject. If you try to explain to people about money and the history of money
Oh,
and the Fed and printing of money, I mean, their eyes glaze over. And I
yeah.
think you're right. I think you nailed it. I think the key is the fact people they don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Ralph, they're just maxed out.
Yeah, yeah, I know it's tough, man. Yeah, it's tough. And it's the other thing too. It's like they are trying to give us what $2,000 stimulus checks right now too, and then nobody's gonna ask where the money's coming from. It's just gonna, oh yeah, free money. Of course, I'll take free money, but nobody's gonna ask the question.
Well, a lot of Bitcoiners are not going to want to hear what I got to say, but I'll
Oh
just tell you
yeah.
right now, we are
Uh-huh.
inevitably moving closer and closer to socialism. It's
Mm.
coming. It's just
Hmm.
got to happen.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we're going to have UBI, we're going to have UBS, which is services,
Yeah.
same principle, universal basic income.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's just coming.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you follow AI, if you're plugged into AI like I am, and I use AI daily,
Yeah.
I mean, it is coming for your
Yeah.
job soon. It's already, if you look at some of the statistics right now,
Mhm.
if you take a high school graduate, a high school dropout, and a
Mhm.
college student, and you put
Yeah.
three of them together, do you know what? If you follow them, it takes the college student the longest to get a job if he's laid off.
Mhm. Wow.
It's harder for him to get a
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
You know, uh, one of the, I think, I don't know if it was Stanford, but one of the reports just came out that I was reading yesterday, and it said that the jobs that are most exposed to AI
Mhm.
for the 20 to 24-year-olds, those people that are just starting their career, just getting out of college, or just starting maybe an associate's degree, just starting their career,
Yeah.
that they're going to lose about 13 to 14% of their jobs over the next year or
Man.
two.
Wow. Whew.
And if you look at Microsoft, Amazon, what are they doing? They're not hiring. Their
Yeah.
revenue is actually increasing. Their margins are increasing, but they're
Mhm.
not hiring.
Yeah.
And you saw that leaked document from Amazon. They're going to save 600,000 jobs over
Wow.
the next 5 to 8 years
Yeah.
just on AI.
Wow.
So it's coming. And
Yeah.
it's, the thing is when you think about, just look at transportation.
Mhm.
If you've seen some of the experiments, if you've watched what's going on down in some of these cities where they've got out robo taxis now,
Mhm. Yeah.
Tesla's kicking Waymo's ass right now, and
Yeah.
they are going to expand, and
Yeah.
it's costing about a third less to get a ride.
Yeah.
So imagine, if you're somewhere, anywhere in the country, and you've got a ride, and you pull up your Lyft, and it comes out, or your Uber, and it comes out to like $25, $30, and you pull up a robo taxi, and it's about five. I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
It's going to be done. And
Yeah.
then you think about transportation. Think about
Mhm.
all the people that are employed within the trucking industry across this country in transportation. And those are jobs, real jobs. I mean, you
Mhm.
work and you're earning a
Mhm.
living. Many people like those jobs.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to be gone. I
Yeah.
mean, and
Yeah.
a robot inside of a semi, he doesn't need any breaks.
Yeah.
It just works.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's only one. You only put
Yeah.
one in the cab, and it
And
just
he
works.
does, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
And
Wow, that's
the thing
uh-huh.
is that they're all going to be connected. So imagine you had 100,000 trucks all being driven by robots. They're actually in a neural net. They're all a brain, meaning they're one unit. They can talk to each other. If there's slowdowns on an interstate, all the other robots will know that. It'll be in a neural platform, and they'll be aware of everything that's going on, road conditions, even as they change, snow. Uh, it's just coming.
Yeah.
So, this idea of socialism, well, right now, I mean, look at the economy.
Mm.
It's K-shaped. all these
Yep.
middle income, lower income. I mean, they're just getting fucked.
Yeah.
And the elite, or the top, 10% in wealth ownership. I've read recently that 90% of all the wealth in this country is owned by boomers. And,
Uh-huh.
we need to die off. I mean, we need to get out of here. And the thing is that we've created so much inequality, so much uh, wealth distribution
Yeah.
inequity,
Yeah.
that it's created tremendous anger
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
frustration. And I don't blame kids. I don't millennials down to Z, whatever. I don't blame you. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh
it
yeah.
sucks.
It goes down to that thing they said, you own nothing and be happy. Basically, that's how they feel. They just like, they
Yeah.
can't get ahead. They can't get ahead at
Eat
all.
eat the bugs.
Yeah.
And be happy.
No, for real. Yeah, I know. And what type of jobs do you think are gonna be relevant in the future? With AI doing all of these things. I mean, I know that's a far,
That's a tough one. Because
yeah.
I've got grandkids. I've got 8 grandkids, and
Nice. Wow.
one of them's like 14, and
Hmm.
I keep asking them. I say, "Hey, well, what do you want to do? What are your plans? What's going on here?"
Yeah.
I think that the jobs that we connect with, n- like activity between my ears. Look at the ear sets that just look at this. Anything
Yeah.
going on between my ears, any neural thought process that requires decision making is
Hmm.
probably going to be at risk, whether it's finance, whether it's insurance, whether
Hmm.
it's, anything that's an algorithmic determination. If you're making a decision tree, even
Hmm.
in the medical field, we're going to see
Yeah.
tremendous upheaval.
Yeah.
I think that hands-on, the type of work that requires hands-on or skills set like that with hands,
Hmm.
is probably a good skill.
Yeah.
I even told my grandkids the other day, I said, just get a job as a plumber. I said, or, a
Yeah.
massage therapist or something.
Yep.
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
but a lot of the traditional jobs, I mean, where would you send a kid to college right now? If you had an 18-year-old, let's just say your son grows up right now, he's 18 years old, things have changed, you're sitting there, but it's right now.
Yeah.
What would you tell him, Ralph, about school? What would you say to him?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't really. I would try to. With these prices, I don't really. Colleges is not really something that I'm like, oh yeah, you have to go to college. No, no, no. If he's talented in something, I'd say, hey man, do your thing. Like if you're a great soccer player, if you're a great singer, if you're a great, I don't know, if you're good at something, I'd say, hey man, go do that instead. Like I don't really, I don't. I don't see a path to like, oh, take on 100K plus of student loans debt, and I don't know, that's no longer a path to success to me. I don't see it like that anymore. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure myself anymore.
Yeah, because even I feel like it would, it's hard to read the future really. I just know it's not gonna be taking out student loan debts. I know that's not a thing anymore. No, that's in the past. Yeah. It's a hard one.
Yeah,
It's a hard one to think about really. And I'm gonna have to think about it because in like 18 years, I'm like, okay, I'm I
yeah,
know,
but like you said, you keyed
yeah,
in on it. You don't know because
yeah,
you can't
yeah,
project what this world's
yeah.
going to look like. I personally think that we're going through what is called a fourth turning right now. And for
Mhm.
those of you who are listening or watching that don't know what that is, it's a, theory by two gentlemen, Howe and Strauss,
Yeah,
and they put out a book in '97 that kind of encapsulated the whole cycle theory. And what it is that basically we run in what's called a seculum. It's about 80, maybe 90 years, and it represents the longest lived human life within a particular period. Even in
mhm,
Rome, that
yeah,
would be about 80 years, that
yeah,
the longest lived life in that particular time frame. And in that, there are cycles. There are different turnings, they call them, an awakening and spring. But eventually, you get to what is called the crisis, and I believe that's what we are in. They put that book out in '97, and they said within the next 8 to 10 years, we're going to have the crisis. Well,
yeah,
I think they were right. I think the
yeah,
great financial crisis was the I think that was the start of the crisis mode.
yeah,
Usually, it lasts for about 20, maybe 25 years. So if that's the case, then I think we are in it. Then I think we'll see on the other side about 3 to 5 years from now was when hopefully I'm thinking that AI will provide the promise that it has now, which is great abundance.
yeah,
The idea that we'll have unlimited energy, that disease, even cancer, will be something that is almost like a chronic disease. And there are already inroads being made into what I just said. So, we can't forecast. We don't know what it's going to look like. I'm just hopeful. I'm
Yeah.
hopeful that it's going to be a beautiful world.
Yeah.
We just have to get through a really difficult period for the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a tough one to think about, really. Wow. It's yeah. And what did you actually, I wanted to ask you, you are I think you're the first guest on my podcast who's lived through 1971 Nixon speech. And like,
Yeah,
how
I
did
watched him.
yeah, oh wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy. Did you
yeah.
notice anything, like, specifically, like, to you and your family? Did you guys notice, like, any specific changes when, yeah, when that happened, before and
Yeah,
after?
yeah, that's a good point. First off, I will tell you right now that I was a young man, but I was working flipping hamburgers, and at the time, I can still remember him on a television screen. I always see it as in black and white, but I know we must have had a color TV then. We had a TV and it had 3 channels,
Yeah.
and and that's it. And we had
Yeah, yeah,
rabbit ears on it,
yeah,
so they stuck out of the top of the
yeah.
TV. And sometimes, if you didn't have good reception, you'd take
Yep.
a ball of aluminum foil and you'd
Oh,
stick it on
yep,
top of the rabbit ear to
yep.
try and get more reception.
Yeah.
It was a wild time. But
Good
anyway,
old times.
I remember him talking, and I thought at the time I fell for it, line, hook, and
Mhm.
sinker. How
Yeah,
did he frame it? He said, "We're going to close the gold repatriation window." Basically, he didn't say it, but they defaulted on their debt. And he said, "We're doing it, though, in defense of the dollar, that these are speculators and that they're attacking the dollar. It's like they're an outside force, an enemy." And then he went ahead to reassure us that there really wasn't going to be any big changes or anything for us,
yeah,
which that was
yep,
a lie.
yep.
And it was going to. Oh, here's the last thing. It would be temporary. And
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
fell for it. I mean, I
yeah,
really did think, yeah, this makes sense. I
yeah,
understand we're being attacked. We need to,
yeah.
defend the dollar. Obviously, as time went by and things began to unravel, I realized that this was a world of shit we were in. It ended up in shortages and ended up inflation as high as 14.5%,
Mhm,
30-year mortgage up to 17, 18%, a
mhm,
car loan at 21%, people in line pushing their way to a gas station because there was no fucking gas anywhere around, and fist fights and
mhm.
odd and even days of license plates, and just a terrible angst.
Wow.
People were out there buying things that they didn't even need just because they get a paycheck, and if they just buy something that they thought was going to be more expensive next month or next year.
Mhm, mhm.
So it tore at the fabric of the country, and people lost faith,
Yeah.
and it was a
Wow.
very difficult time. You know I, I can't explain to people how when you're being boiled like that slowly, like the frog in the pot, you
Mhm.
just suddenly one day you step outside and you look around, you go, what the fuck happened here? How did I end up in this place?
Yeah.
And it just gives you an indication of how the government will frame any argument they have to in order to keep themselves going.
Mhm.
The whole, what to set off that whole crisis. The reason that happened was because of the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944, when we established ourselves as the world's reserve currency and then
Yep.
tied it to gold. Basically, the dollar was tied to gold, and then foreign currencies were tied to the dollar. Well,
Mhm.
it was a disaster waiting to happen.
Yep.
Bretton Woods wasn't even fully implemented until like the late 1950s, I think.
Yep.
And it didn't take long. It was only about a dozen years, and it failed.
Yeah.
So the seeds of our demise were sealed in that particular agreement.
Yeah.
And there were people, even Keynes, I mean, there were people that pointed out that this was probably a model that would not go forward or last. It's also why it's why we can't make anything here anymore. Once we went off the
Mhm.
gold standard on this fiat currency, and the World Trade Organization, and China's admittance in 2001, I mean, we can't make jack shit here anymore.
Yep.
And if you look at the world, if you look at the rare earth minerals crisis that's going on right now, China's got 44 billion proven reserve tons of red oxide earths, or rare
Mhm.
earths.
Wow.
And I know, and China, really, there's nothing even close. I think we've got about 2 million or 2 billion tons, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so they hold it. Brazil is next at about half that
Mhm.
amount. And then that's why this is such an issue, because you
Yeah.
can't do anything without those minerals, by the
Y
way, and
yeah, fair enough.
not in a modern technology
Yeah.
society.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's kind of wild to think about everything. It's also like this was over 50 years ago, and still till this day some people still don't understand how that, they still don't know what happened, and they still don't understand how that's affected their life. It's like we've been, I don't, not we, but like they've been so good at keeping this lie going. Like you said, it's wild. It's absolutely insane, man.
Yeah, the fallout, the fallout really hit home by like 1975. They
Hmm.
knew that we knew we were in trouble as a country with the
Hmm.
dollar, and it was weakening
Yeah.
dramatically. So they had to find a different way to push a market for dollars, and that was the petrodollar system that came out by
Hmm.
1975 with Kissinger and other diplomats going around and actually shopping this out, if you will, putting this out to different Middle Eastern nations. By 1975, all of OPEC was on board, so they had to reflate that market in order to be able to hold U.S. Treasuries, and that's why gas went up so high so quickly, also. And ever since then, we've been basically at war. I mean, our whole model is
Yeah.
based upon defending sea lanes, defending the Middle East, supplying them with weapons, arms agreements, and shipping out dollars.
Yeah.
And of course, what do we get in return? We've got a lot of things
Yeah.
from China and everywhere else, but we don't make much ourselves
Yeah.
anymore. Our manufacturing's been shipped out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I agree. Agree. And how do you see this playing out? Do you see well, we all know the dollar has to come to an end eventually. Do you see it as like some people see it as a slow die off, or like just fast? Like how do you see it play out, you
I
personally?
Yeah, I don't think the dollar's going anywhere. I
Okay.
think, in fact, I'd have to say that they've made a remarkable pivot in the last 6 months to stable coins with the
Mm-hmm.
Genius Act,
Mm-hmm.
and they're counting on this. And I think it even took the world markets a little bit by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
China, Europe. I mean, I think they understand that what the U.S. is doing is they're going to basically gin up a new market for the U.S. dollar,
Mm-hmm.
one that's more fluid and one that's trades easier, and that stable coins are going to be that market.
Yeah.
So I think it took a lot of people by surprise, but I believe the U.S. is betting on that. They've committed to it. I think the dollar is going to be around a long time. I don't mean that the dollar is going to be a place that you can store value in or hold,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't think as a currency, as something that we use, I don't think that it's going away. I
Yeah.
haven't for a long time. And if you look at the history of reserve currencies, world reserve currencies, they die a very slow death. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
takes decades, even after the country is no longer a world superpower.
Yeah.
I'd have to say the thing that I think about a lot is the fact that we are basically in an arms race right now between us and China. And it's just us. It's just two elephants. The
Mm-hmm.
GDP of the US is about 30 trillion. China's about two-thirds of that. There's nobody close after that. I think Germany comes in next. It's single digits in the middle. So it's a superpower race right now between the two of us. And it's all about AI. And it's this almost like a Manhattan Project to achieve not just general intelligence, AGI, but also to achieve super intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we're that far off from it. I
Yeah.
think it's a race to get there. I think one
Yeah.
of the reasons the U.S., and I say socialism too, again, one of the reasons the U.S. is becoming involved in private enterprises and within the private corporations as an investor and a holder, as a stake partner, is because they are very concerned about winning this race.
Yeah.
And they've already told us. I mean, it's why that we want to build out infrastructure. We need energy. Do you know? Just as an aside, energy is going to be critical coming for you.
Mm.
If you think you've seen inflation, do you know? I was just looking at a statistic the other day, and energy prices are up like 35% or something over in the last few
Mhm.
years, just since ChatGPT launched in 22.
Mhm.
And they're not going to go down. It's not going to stop. The
Yeah, yeah.
demand for energy is off the charts.
Yep.
These AI companies, the hyperscalers, they are constricted. They have so much demand, it's off the charts. And
Yep.
they are constricted only by what they can compute, the compute power. And that comes from infrastructure, chips, energy. Three
Yeah.
things. And we are in a race right
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what happens over the next few years and who's going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, no, looking to for it to see that. And interesting. And what was your plan for retirement before Bitcoin actually? Did you have like what was on your mind back
Wait,
then?
I really, I never really planned when I was a young
Hmm.
man. I never really planned much for the future. I mean, I've got a
Yeah.
weird background. I used to be a miner. I was
Hmm.
a cop. I worked underground as a miner, and drove a cab. I
Yep.
worked in the oil fields. These were just like working jobs. They really
Right.
weren't about building a future.
Yep.
When I got in the Navy, I had an opportunity as a fighter pilot. I could have stayed in the Navy, kept flying,
Hmm.
and I guess that would have been something like a plan, if you will, plan B.
Yep.
When I got out of the Navy, I flew for Delta and I was
Yeah.
a captain with them. And so I had a retirement plan, but then of all things, I can't believe this, of all things, Delta went bankrupt. And
Man. Yeah.
and out of the entire company, only one employee group had their pension stolen from them, and it was the pilots. So
Man.
here I am. I can't remember how old I was, like 40 something. And basically, my pension was taken. My company went bankrupt. I really didn't know what I was going to do.
Mhm.
So I became very, very interested in finance
Yep.
and retirement
Mhm.
and investing. And the first time I heard about Bitcoin, I thought it was really stupid. And so I just passed on. I passed on it several times.
Yeah.
I never did get it until Lynn Alden finally came out with a great paper. And I owe her a lot because she
Mhm.
started me down the rabbit hole. I'd
Yeah.
be curious, how did you end up going down the rabbit? What clicked for you, or when did you start?
I think the first book I read was the Bitcoin Standard actually. And
Ah,
that book was, yeah, it really opened my mind like a lot because I realized that I did not know anything about money at all. I just thought money was just a piece of paper, that the US dollar, the Haitian dollar. I just thought money was just a piece of paper. That's it. Like I had no idea about the history of money. I didn't know about like the properties of money. I had no clue. I just realized how dumb I was really. And then yeah, and then after I read that book, I started diving into the history of money, I studied history, like the Roman Empire, all of that, and then
I
started
love
seeing
Rome.
like, yeah, oh yeah, I know it's crazy. Like the like learning history is like so fun. Like just like seeing what happened in the past, and like you start seeing like it's like almost like feels like the same thing keeps happening over and over again with money. And you're like, huh, we are like almost in the same situation in a way. Like just it's like almost every single country that has been a global reserve currency, they've all kind of failed. I mean, I'm not saying the US is going to fail, but it's inevitable. They're gonna continue to print money. It's just, they can't stop. It's just the dollars, the value of the dollar is not gonna increase. You can't save in dollars anymore. Once you realize that, it's like I started looking, okay, so I guess I wasn't even interested in Bitcoin actually. I actually focused more on history. And then once I realized that, oh, okay, so there's really no hope in saving in dollars, I was like, okay, maybe um I should probably save into Bitcoin now because yeah, there is no other way. Like this is it. And Bitcoin cannot fail. This
We
we
can't let
have
it
to
fail. It's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it cannot. There's
It
no
cannot fail.
we
Yeah,
can't let this thing fail. And
yeah,
that's one of the reasons I'm so pissed off with core developers right now, is because
yeah,
I'm under the impression that there's too much fuck around, find out
yeah,
type of philosophy there, and it's really bothering me.
yeah.
I one of the greatest powers that I developed over the years, not, I don't have a lot of them, but this one is a good one, is
Uh-huh.
I did figure out how to say, I made a mistake or I screwed something up.
Mm,
And if you look at the history of what the fallout was from the Taproot upgrade in
mhm,
21 that I
mhm,
supported and was behind, you know, I feel like even though today the Bitcoin core developers spin it off as a design implementation, I believe that that was an exploit, that they put a bug basically into the protocol that they weren't aware of. And that when Jamie Rortimar actually discovered it in 23 and the birth of the Taproot wizard shortly thereafter, I think
mhm,
that Core made a tremendous error in just not coming out and just saying, hey, you know what? This was unanticipated consequence. And we made a mistake here, and let's try and fix it. Instead, they doubled down on that whole philosophy of this is part of the design, and it led us into a logic pretzel of like, well, how do you justify that then? And basically, it came to be that, well, if it's a design implementation, we were going to go there anyway. And what right do we have to censor the network? What is spam? I mean, if you're into a conversation where you can't fucking identify what spam is, or like Gloria Zhao having a conversation about a goddamn cat JPEG and doesn't understand that that is not monetary transmit, that doesn't belong in a monetary transaction.
Yeah.
There is a difference.
Yeah.
And you know what, how I have a philosophy, and it's not something I just pulled out of my ass. I've thought this through. Bitcoin for me is money. And so non-monetary transactions, I want them to have as much friction and cost associated with their getting onto the blockchain as can be made possible.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying that you cannot, through filtering, you're not going to be able to block spam, all the spam. You just can't. But if you had the majority of the nodes running, like 92 to 94% were running knots, you definitely would stop a
Mhm.
lot of spam at that point. That was always my goal with knots. As it took off and went up to 20, 21%, I was hoping that we would continue to grow and that over time it would become the majority of the nodes on the network.
Mhm.
But because of that convoluted logic that they put into motion, and the way that this V30 was came out, and I know a lot of your uh, listeners are probably not deep into this, but the
Yeah.
bottom line is the release of this had some strange things associated with it. Meaning, one of the people named Mechanic was marked as abusive because he was questioning some of the core principles inside this V30 release, basically regarding around something called op return. And what bothered me about that is he was muted, and then there was another developer who actually voted NAC, which means no, doesn't
Mhm.
approve of this, and yet the message from Core was that this was universally accepted, that there was no dissent. That wasn't true. That was a
Mhm.
lie.
Mhm.
Then they closed the GitHub,
Mhm.
and then they had another person coming on there who had made a very logical argument for discussion on this. He was marked as spam.
Mhm.
Then, after they closed it, they reopened it so they'd allow somebody to come in to make what is called an ACK or a yes approval to it, and then closed it again. It's like they're selectively censoring what they receive. Like
Mhm.
they're the elite.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are in charge. You don't get a say in this.
Mhm.
Basically the model that we're using for this is not going to work, I think, going forward, because we've got some really important things to discuss.
Yeah.
Quantum computing, covenants,
Yep.
CTV. I mean, there's things that have to be done. They're going to require soft fork.
Yep.
So how are you going to do that if you've burned all your bridges and people are pissed at you like me? I'm
Yeah.
pissed at you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. It's crazy. It really truly shows you like how like I remember one of the founding fathers. I remember that quote when they said just should not we should not allow people to have control or issue currency. And look at we just have a few people, just because they have the power to change some stuff, they are doing it unnecessarily. And I remember watching one of Robert Brivla's podcasts, and what was that dude's name? I forgot his name, but he was talking about how it was basically all these changes were, based on my understanding, was basically for just one company, because they just one company wanted to. I don't know the
Well,
whole thing really.
it,
I'm
you
still too
know,
new to
I,
this.
I,
Hmm.
I think I think that is probably over. I don't think it's just that simple, meaning it was
Hmm.
Citria is the name of the
Yeah,
company. I
right.
don't think it was Citria that was behind any nefarious activity here.
Hmm.
They did have a use case to
Hmm.
support opening
Uh-huh.
up op return. But what the problem was is that Bitcoin Core developers, when they first came out with the V30, they had it marked for deprecation, which means it would be removed, this op return and your default settings, the ability to limit data carrier size. Now, they later rescinded that.
Mm-hmm.
But the real problem is that they went from 80 bytes to 100,000 bytes of data inside there. And I really have never heard. I mean, I was just listening to Murch, who's one of the core developers, try to explain that reasoning behind that. I've listened to 3 people now. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't understand. For me, if you're opening up and releasing a filter like that, it means that you're exposing more attack surface to Bitcoin and you're weakening it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the point of that. I don't see the reasoning behind it. So I guess it's just something we're going to have to work through here. The BIP 444 is something I want to discuss, but I'm going to hold off on that because I'm still just making a few last minute research
Okay.
articles, things that I'm working on right now. And I'm not sure whether I'm going to be able to support that as it's going forward.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And other than obviously the number growth technology and you being able to retire, peacefully, how else has Bitcoin changed you?
Well, it's made me a lot more toxic son of a bitch. I'll tell you one thing. Let me see. I am a narrow-minded, NFT hating, carnivore, meat eating, toxic Bitcoin maximist.
Wow, wow,
Maximalist.
wow.
I
You
am
checked all the
I
boxes.
I am cast in iron with balls the size of watermelons. So Bitcoin has toughened me up. I thought I
Yeah,
was tough before, but I'm a lot tougher now.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. I know, yeah. It's like every Bitcoiner that I talk to, they all have like, I don't know, it's like full of energy, happier, healthier. Everybody's just like, yeah. I have not met a single depressed Bitcoiner yet, actually. That tells you something, right? That's
Well, there's
crazy.
probably going to be after today. If we go down below 90K,
Yeah.
there'll be some depressed ones. They'll be out there. I mean,
Oh yeah.
and I'll tell you something. I'm not belittling that. I want you to know something. If you're listening to me or if you're watching right now, I understand. I feel everything you're going through right now. I have laid awake in bed at night, 3 o'clock in the morning, staring at the fucking ceiling, wondering what the hell I've done in my life. And I've just wondered if I've made the biggest mistake of my life as my wealth just went down and down and down. And you know what? I bought in those periods. I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes I felt like throwing up afterwards, but I bought then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I only did that because it was through conviction. You've got to understand what you hold. If you look at the price of Bitcoin in January of 2024, and you look at it now, it's massively up. And there is no difference in Bitcoin between January then and today. None. In fact, everything underneath Bitcoin is just positive. Even these BTC treasury companies, we've got more people involved in the space, more institutions, more ETF exposure, more liquidity, more options. And believe it or not, you've got to have options. You've got to have liquidity in a market. If you
Hmm.
want Bitcoin to go up to $10 trillion, you've got to have every single thing that I just mentioned in this market.
Yeah.
You've got to build out on it. It takes liquidity. These companies that are coming in, they've got to be able to hedge their positions. If they're going to put in $100 billion position in Bitcoin, they've got to be able to cover their ass somehow. Think of options as like insurance contracts, and they're using them. And
Hmm.
without that liquidity, without that size, without all the things, the government regulation, I didn't even talk about that.
Yeah.
The Clarity Act is coming, the Genius Act. I
Hmm.
believe that it's just nothing but positive, I don't know, support structure beneath Bitcoin. And
Right.
so for me personally, again, not financial advice, but I intend to buy some more Bitcoin here in these regimes soon.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And for I guess older the people in the older generation closer to retirement, do you see any other option other than Bitcoin? Anything else worth
Yeah,
investing or saving their money into?
yeah, sure. I've never been like an anti-gold bug. I think
Hmm.
gold's stupid. I mean, I think it's like a rock.
Yeah.
I mean, you could stick it up your ass or something if you have to cross the border. But you know what? I mean, it's never going to be able to compete with Bitcoin, especially
Hmm.
in the settlement across international borders. I mean, that's coming.
Yeah.
You saw, I'm sure, that the Czech National Bank and
Mhm.
just came out with a $1 million purchase of Bitcoin as an experimental test run. It's not held, by the way.
Yeah.
You can't say now that a European national bank is holding Bitcoin because it's not part of their FX reserves. It's
Mhm.
just an experiment. They're testing the market, so to speak. I assume that they're wanting to understand how it works. So
Yep.
that's a good first step. But yeah, I've never been against gold per se, and
Mhm.
I understand. I've often felt like, I've held gold. I mean, I was a
Mhm.
gold bug. My
Yeah.
parents, once in '75 when they opened up the purchase of gold to U.S. citizens again. I mean, my parents came home. They had gold coins, gold
Yeah.
bars. We were putting them up in the rafters of the basement, burying them in the yard, and I mean, they might still be there for all I know, but and that's the problem with gold
Yeah.
too, is
Yeah.
trying to store it and keep control of it. It's
Yeah.
not an easy experience. It's not even an easy experience to find out what gold is. And you take it home, is it really gold?
Right.
The only way you're ever going to find out is to melt the damn thing down and
Yep.
reform it into something. So
Yeah.
I've never had any. I think gold is a valid way for people to disperse risk,
Yeah.
to hedge against the future.
Yeah.
Even silver, I think, is something worth considering. If you're going to do that, though, I would definitely hold physical. I mean, I'd
Mhm.
actually
Yeah.
have it. I'd go out in that backyard at night, bury the damn thing, tell somebody about it, I guess. But
Yeah.
I would do that.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh yeah.
let's face it. I mean, the things that if you use one guiding principle, if
Mhm.
you can find things that everybody else wants and the government can't print it, that's
Mhm.
something to hold on to, and it will increase in value. For
Yeah.
me, Bitcoin's the fastest horse. It's
Mhm.
inevitable.
Yep.
This is just a downturn. I don't think the 4-year cycles exist anymore. I don't
Mhm.
think this is going to be a year-long drawn out bear market. I think we'll just probably get down to a point somewhere where, again, it's a bargain. People are going to step in. It's slowly going to go up.
Yep.
It's just going to keep going up and to the right.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I might smash by some after this podcast, man.
Well, that's not financial advice. You do what works for you.
Yeah, yeah. And also I have one last question for you, but I
Yeah.
was looking at your art piece actually. You're pretty good, man. Like what
Oh,
was
thanks.
your yeah, man. What was your or who was it that inspired you to become an artist actually?
I've always liked art, even when I was a little kid. I like to draw. I like to. You would never know this, but there might be
Mhm.
somebody out there that remembers this. When I
Uh-huh.
was a little kid, everybody was smoking. I mean,
Hmm.
I might have been smoking as a kid. They had these little matchbook covers, and you
Uh-huh.
would open up the matchbook cover, and inside it would say, "Want to be an artist?" And then it would say, "Contact such and such." And so I gave that to my mom and dad, or I saw it, and I said, "I want to be an artist." And they sent off, and you'd get a little packet, and then you'd draw it, and you send it in. Everything was by snail mail. Put a stamp on it, send it in. They'd review it, then they'd send it back to you and stuff. So I always loved art. And
Yep.
it was just something that stayed with me the whole time. I've never had a lesson though. I've never actually had a lesson in my life.
Yep.
I just have taught myself like a good Bitcoiner. I
Yep.
just learned the skill. I practiced it, and after what do they say, 10,000 hours? Yeah, I do think that I am probably a master at painting right now.
Nice. Nice. I love that, man. That's good, man. You selling any of your stuff or is it just for fun?
No, I'm in galleries and I
Okay.
sell work there. Occasionally, I'll sell a piece to a like a Bitcoin or
Nice.
only because the galleries don't take Bitcoin. And I've
Yeah.
had people reach out to me, and if they're willing to pay in Bitcoin, I always give them a great deal. And
Yeah.
I don't usually do commissions, so I kind of resist. I like to just paint what I want.
No, that's fair. That's fair. No, I love that. That's a fun hobby, man. That's a
It
fun
is.
hobby.
It's a great
Yeah.
hobby. And if I'm right about AI, let's just say we get through the next 3 to 5 years and we don't blow the shit out of ourselves. And we're all here. We're all sitting here in a world of abundance, abundant
Hmm.
energy, abundant, everything you can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You're going to have a lot of time on your hands. You're going to, you'll be wondering, what should I do with my life?
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll come up with something that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And one last question that I ask all my guests is if you could go back in time and give yourself your younger self advice, what would you tell yourself? Other than buying more Bitcoin, of course. What would you tell your younger self?
I would try to understand that life is really, really short. I mean,
Mm,
I'm coming up. I mean, I can see my last block being mined out there on the horizon,
mm,
and I would just tell myself, you know what? Today, every day I try to live my life by four principles: strength, honor, courage, if you will, integrity, and kindness. Those four things: strength, honor, integrity, kindness. And I would have told myself then that you better make this a bigger part of your life, because if you live your life using those principles, at the end of it, you can look back and you just feel very comfortable about who you are. You know, if you can't embrace all four of them, something's wrong.
Yeah.
You come out at the very end and you look back and go, oh man, you know, that was a mess. I made some big mistakes, and I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I am truly sorry for some of the things that I have done in my life.
Yeah. Wow. That is powerful, man. I love it. I love it. Man, thanks again for your time, man. I appreciate it. Where can people find you and your artwork if they need to reach out to
Just
you?
type my name. You got it
Yeah.
down there. Just type George Bodine into Google. I'm the first thing that
Nice.
comes up in life.
Mm.
I don't know why. Whatever.
I love it. You're the special George Bodine, man. You know,
I
there's
don't know
no other
why,
one.
but
Yeah.
it's just I'm the first thing that comes up in Google.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love it. Hey, man, thanks again for your time, man. I appreciate it.
oh, you're welcome,
Yeah.
Ralph. It was really good talking to you too, bud.
Yeah. Same
Cheers
here.
to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Bye, kids.